Next, we'll have Brian on library media, right? Did I get that right? Yes.
Thank you. Good evening. It's good to be back.
He's back.
I'm here tonight, obviously, to present the library media program report. And I'd like to start off the report by thanking the Board of Education for its continuous support of what I consider to be an extremely important program in the school district. So thank you very much for your past and hopefully your current support and future support. I'd like to start off and take a little bit of time talking about the roles of the library media specialist, because they are a little bit different from your classroom teacher in that they do teach. They teach quite a bit of classes, but the way that their mode of teaching is through collaborative work with the other classroom teachers and subject area teachers, that we try to teach our content through their content to make it very meaningful instead of just teaching skills in isolation. We try to teach these skills so that they can have authentic application of these skills through the other content areas. So in that, they have to be knowledgeable of all the content and the curriculum. They are the liaisons, the consultants for the copyright to myself, to the teachers, to the principals. They are leaders in technology, and as such, they provide a wealth of professional development throughout the school year to the teachers in the district. And they're in charge of what I think is very important curriculum in the area of information literacy, making sure that our students graduate with good information literacy skills to be respectful and responsible users of technology and information. And this year, something I'll talk a little bit more, we're implementing a new curriculum that we think is very appropriate in the elementary levels that focuses on digital citizenship. So if we take a look at the sequence of our curriculum throughout the child's experience, when they are in the elementary levels, obviously we talk about the introduction of certain information literacies. This is the first time all the way down to kindergarten where they're starting to be engaged in research and thinking strategies. Obviously, we do a lot with technology in the department, so we're introducing a lot of technology skills, and we certainly support the English, language arts, and reading curriculum through supporting the literature appreciation units in those curricula as well. And again, this year we're introducing the new curriculum for digital citizenship. As students move up into the middle levels, this is where we start to see a higher level of practical application of those skill sets that they've learned down in the elementary. We continue to take a look at meaningful research projects for them. We do a lot more with internet searching. For the most part, students in elementary schools use the digital subscriptions, the databases that we have. When they get to the middle levels, then we start taking them onto the internet and saying this is what is incorporated into a safe search, a reliable search, a valid search. We have academic integrity courses where we start introducing the concept of plagiarism and copyright and source citation, and we continue to support literature appreciation and digital citizenship. As we move to the high school, our goal is to make sure that our students have a high level of independence in information literacy and research, so that when they leave us, that they can be independent users and able to do their research in college or post-secondary education. So we focus again on the research. There's a guaranteed research experience in every single year at the high school, which is really unheard of in the state of Connecticut. I think we're one of school systems that does that. We focus a lot on independent resource selection, where they have been exposed to a tremendous amount of resources, and now the expectation is for them to do an analysis of those resources and pick the best resource for the task at hand. We really focus on the legal aspects to make sure that they understand the ramifications of copyright and plagiarism, because they can have serious repercussions, as we all know, in high school and beyond. And then we also explore more authentic presentation modes, such as not relying on the traditional research paper, but taking a look at other vehicles in which they can present their research. So how are we doing? Well, we've said that the goal, as I mentioned, when they graduate high school is that they achieve that information literacy independence. And recently we took a look at the high school performance indicators, and we noticed that we've been doing pretty well. that if you take a look at the freshmen, we have a high levels of freshmen that come in and that are meeting the three of the academic expectations that we have some input in. And that's not a reflection of the high school program. That's a high school of the total program, K through the high school. That if you're getting those high levels of freshmen meeting those academic expectations when they're freshmen, that's a direct reflection on the unified curriculum that we have all the way down to the elementary schools. We also know that we're doing pretty well because when we talk to college admissions officers and other professors who report back to us and alumni, they say that the Glastonbury High School students are well prepared to conduct independent research in college, and that they have a higher level of understanding and competence in research compared to their peers. So we're very happy to hear that. The biggest change that I mentioned this year is that we're implementing a digital citizenship component of our curriculum. Those are the 8 areas of study that we'll be implementing. We'll be starting this in January because we'll be delivering this curriculum via the iPad. Everything will be delivered via the iPad, so we wanted to wait until all of the elementary classrooms were set up with the iPads, which we are well ahead of schedule, I'm happy to report. So we'll be starting that right after the winter break. Some of the challenges that we've had over the last year, staffing, obviously. You heard in the presentations beforehand that we had to cut a library media specialist, or we did last year. So this forced us to reduce some of the time that we're able to spend with our students. So that forced us to take a look and realign our curriculum priorities for this year. We anticipate that we'll have that challenge again next year, and then I would anticipate in 2 years that challenge may not be so challenging anymore based upon decisions made this evening. Another challenge that we have, and I think that we're ready to slide over into the success, is ebooks. And the ebooks, really, the problem has been the delivery platform. That we have various publishers and various vendors who publish and produce these ebooks, but the delivery systems are inconsistent in how they work in our system. So if we purchased a book from vendor A, but it did not integrate with our library management system, it caused a whole lot of frustration on the part of not only the library media specialists, but the students as well. So we've worked very hard with our library catalog provider, Follett, and they have come up with a new solution. I'm sure just not for us, because I'm sure everyone has been experiencing that problem, but we think we've overcome that ebook in that we're going to be working directly with Follett to make the purchases of our ebooks because it integrates seamlessly into our system. So this challenge, what has been a challenge in the past, I think will become a success very, very shortly. And then just looking into the future in the next couple of years, we're looking at something that's called Learning Commons, and that's kind of a reorientation of the library space. This is a concept that's gaining traction in the library media world, where they're taking a look at, instead of libraries being stacks and tables meant for individualized work, that you rearrange the space so that you create a common area that is really better for collaboration, discovery, creation, whatever it is, which is more in line with the 21st century. We look to expand the digital citizenship curriculum to the middle school and hopefully eventually up to the high school, depending upon the success at the elementary schools this year. And we're looking to include a social media component, especially at the high school. We've talked to the kids, and the kids, students these days get their information not so much through the website or the email anymore as much as they do through other social media. So we're going to be looking at what types of social media vehicles can we incorporate into our curriculum instruction so that we're meeting the needs of our students. And in closing, I'd just like to, again, thank the Board of Education, but also recognize my staff. They're an incredible group of teachers who do great things, are constantly learning, trying different things, changing things up, and I'm just very proud of them and very proud to be associated with them.
For an excellent report. Comments or questions for Brian? Jeremy? Oh, Lillian, did you? I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Brian, I just had one short comment, and it's actually a thank you. My children have been in pilot classrooms for the rollout of the iPads, and I've been just so impressed at their. Even my kindergartner now has an organic understanding of the notion of a work identity and a home identity. The way they present themselves online and how they process information, it's really shocking and impressive as someone who sees adults struggling to learn that concept. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's good to hear that feedback.
Okay, to follow up, explain work identity and home identity as you're explaining it to the kids. I don't know,
Well,
you
I'm gonna put that to Lillian.
The thing that's been really interesting is the notion that that they're already being exposed to, because so many children have technology in the homes, and the idea that you present yourself one way when you're interacting in your classroom, when you're using your classroom email, that's used for certain kinds. It's for work. It's used for certain kinds of information, used for certain kinds of communication, and then that things like videos of cute puppies and anything else toilet humor, anything else a child might want to share, they can save for their home social media experience. And
I think it goes back to what we've always said, is that we're teaching students now that the devices that they're used to use as toys, they're learning to use as tools. And we've said that would always come back to them.
Yeah, so thank you, Brian, for this. As I think back to what you're doing with the kids, working online and training kids to be able to distinguish between fact and fiction, sort of in the world of academics, we've seen in the last year or so the spread of what's called fake news, which is now invading pretty much the whole country. The question of how you determine and how do you get this across to children as to how to react to what they see as possibly news, but very often may not be news. How do you get them to distinguish and sift through all the stuff that they can get hold of?
It's difficult, but one of the things that we embed in them from the get-go is we teach them about reliability, authenticity, about credibility, bias. These are all terms that we start teaching them in the elementary, and we build upon those terms as we go through the high school. So they know when they see, our goal is to help them understand that when they see a headline, to read the headline, but then look at where is this coming from? Is it .gov, .edu, .org, .net, whatever? Who is the author? What's the date on this? Is this a credible resource? Is there bias? And what does bias mean? And how can you tell when you're reading something? So this is we're starting. We've been doing this for years. The fake news is certainly it's a good teachable moment, I guess, for us to really reinforce and utilize those skills and tell the students, here's what we're talking about. When we talk about authenticity, reliability, credibility, and bias. So it's unfortunate that it's happening, but we're trying to turn this unfortunate situation into a good teachable moment.
Questions or comments for Brian? I just wanted to make one comment because I thought it was very helpful. Because oftentimes I think there's a disconnect in the community about how our library media specialists are so integral to the education in every area that we have. And you said earlier in your presentation that we teach our content through their content.
Right.
And I think that's really important. It's an important thing that we continue to talk about because it's really how it works. And it works very well, obviously.
We're firm believers that skills taught in isolation are not skills learned.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciated that. Anything else for Brian? Okay, thank you, and thank you again for your patience.